to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, is Ben Slinger.
That's right, I'm here. Hello.
You know what? What we haven't done for a long time.
What's that, Trevor?
We haven't reviewed some games. So let's delve back into... get away from the game design stuff. Just chill this week because we had a hard week last week. Let's just go back to our list of dark web games and just...
Yeah, let's talk about some stuff that we've played recently. All right.
So, Ben, would you like to go first with the game that we reviewed first this week?
Sure, yeah. So, earlier this week, I was playing a little indie darling known as Rad Lizard Enforcer. You joined me with that, obviously.
Yes.
We sort of streamed that a little bit to each other and you were watching while I played.
Yes, and trying to help you enforce those rad lizards.
Yeah, so this, for those who haven't played it, it's a bit of an arcadey throwback to like really early arcade sort of stuff, a bit of sort of Dig Dug style. Dig Duggy. Yeah. That's my, I'm good friends with Dig Dug, so I call him Dig Duggy.
Of course.
Yeah, that sort of.
Did you teach him how to Dougie?
I dig teach him how to Dougie. So essentially, and it's sort of a weird satirical thing because you play basically a cop, like an enforcer of some sort of a non-specific enforcement agency.
Yes. I mean, they used real old school graphics. Like, when we talk old school, we're talking Atari 2600 style graphics. Like,
it was definitely evoking that style. I think, like a lot of more modern games that are doing that sort of retro thing, they end up bringing in some more modern effects and overlays and like things that you couldn't actually do back then with that hardware.
Yeah, a lot more bloom.
They use the bloom a lot.
I mean, the full motion video intro was really quite interesting.
It was a bit incongruous.
Like it switched like blocky pixels.
Yeah, it went from like the 4K video, full motion video intro of a very convincing CG lizard with sunglasses on, like that. Yeah, that was cool. You couldn't quite tell what the gender of the inspector was, which is good. Yeah. They're all like, they've got the sort of almost the right.
Very look. Androgynous. Yeah.
Yeah. And just it was always a bit of, who was that, Gex the Gecko. There's a bit of a Gex the Gecko vibe from this rad lizard, sort of hamming it up for the camera, and then you just see the baton just come straight down on his head, and it's like very realistic. Yeah. Kind of bloody, not for kids.
It really felt kind of like a Wreck-It Ralph sort of scene where it's, it's gone from this beautiful 4K looking thing when it's sort of gone. It feels like as they went back, they went out of the screen and it's just like this really blocky.
Yeah, it had an aspect of that for sure.
Yeah.
And then you're playing these cops, and you're sort of, it's like
enforcing the Rad Lizards. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a side-on view. You've got like the below ground area with the tunnels and the above ground area with sort of the platforms. It is that very Atari 2600-ish,
it definitely evoked some feelings of Pitfall.
Mm-hmm.
But with an amazing like murder mystery that sort of happened along the way as well. Like, and the fact that you could play this co-op. Like,
yeah, well, the what was I going to say? The murder mystery, I was going to get to that, obviously, because again, you play through a few of the levels, which just seem like fairly straightforward, sort of arcadey levels, and you hit the lizard and they disappear and you get a score and it comes up the top.
Yeah.
But then, like the sort of the screen pans across as the lizards run into the house, and then you get another 4K video, like setting the scene.
And then for the rest of the game, this is where the co-op gets unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
You actually have a rad lizard become an enforcer as well. Like, so you've got the enforcer that enforces against rad lizards, and then you got the rad lizard enforcer.
Yeah,
like,
it's a bit of a double entendre.
So it's a double entendre, and that was really fun. Like, we could then join up together and search for who actually killed all those rad lizards.
Yeah, and look, we won't give away the ending in case you want to play, but
it's not who you think.
You won't get. I don't think you'll get it. I don't think you'll get it.
See, I thought they were doing this whole thing about because you just killed a whole heap of rad lizards by bonking him on the head with a baton.
Yeah,
I thought, oh my god, they've set this guy up, but no, he was the red herring. You know, your player character is actually the red herring.
That's it. Like, you kind of expect a bit of a, you know, what do they call it? The ludonarrative dissonance of, they're not actually going to address that we just killed all these lizards. All of a sudden, it's like this, you know, change in thing. But no, they bring it up, and they sort of, there's actually it's a whole satirical thing around you're just following orders and who's the real bad guy here, and it's really actually a good takedown of the cops and fascism, really. I think that was sort of the goal. But, you know, they did a good job. Anyway, why don't we move on from that? And Trev, what do you want to talk about?
So I really want to put forward Ultraviolent Squirrel 2 in the Outback.
Yeah, well, sequel, obviously, to the original Ultraviolent Squirrel.
Yep.
What system was that? Was that last generation or was the generation before?
It was 360. It was.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, it's been a while. I thought it'd been a while.
Yeah. And I'm glad they brought it. Like, they brought it back. It's weird that they chose as a Steam game, you know, because it feels very at home on the Xbox
I guess they figure
consoles,
everyone's got controllers now for Steam and stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I liked it. I felt like it didn't quite reach the heights of the original.
Yeah, there wasn't quite as much violence. It was kind of like...
Yeah, I did feel like they toned that down.
Semi-violent Squirrel?
A bit. And
it would have been a better name.
Look, I think they just... There's certain
Which is
things
weird because...
that don't pass anymore, I suppose.
With the first game, they you know, skipped actually getting a rating put on it, so it was sold only in an unrated version, and they needed it because there were blood and guts everywhere, and it was really ultra-violent.
Yeah,
and again, they didn't go for the ratings this time, but they
tails and
they didn't go for the ratings again because, you know, they're selling it on the dark web only, but they really went tame. Like, my 10-year-old could play this. Like,
yeah, I don't know what they thought the audience was. Like, I could see maybe if they were trying to get a crossover hit, they'll release it on Steam or something. I mean, maybe they're still going for that, I guess. I guess that could be an option. They're sort of, you know, releasing it on the dark web again for their real fans.
Yeah, on dark.
But then if it's for the real, like, the real fans aren't going to be into it. So, I don't know. I think it's a misstep.
No.
But I will say it's a pleasant addition of the voice acting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Russell Crowe. That Russell Crowe sounded like anyway.
Yeah, no, I don't think they got the real Russell Crowe, but I like that he plays a crow, though. Like, there's a bit of a...
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a Banjo-Kazooie sort of thing.
Yeah, he plays your little crow sidekick, air kick, up kick. What would that... Anyway. He's not by his side, that's my point.
Yeah, he's up and diagonal, like...
Yeah, you're up and diagonal kick. You know, that common term.
Back and to the left. So anyway,
I mean, it's not violent. Like, that's actually... It's funny that you mentioned that because if you recall, the first game did have a
that whole thing
of
in
the JFK
Dallas,
assassination. Yeah. In fact,
which is why it was
doesn't
something else happens after that. Like, there's a whole submarine section. Like,
yeah, that's right. I think I was getting tired of Anyway.
So, in the Outback, literally, Ultraviolent Squirrel wakes up in the middle of the desert and doesn't know where he is, and he walks a little bit and comes across like a beautiful canyon sort of thing that has lots of water and that sort of stuff. And that's where his adventure sort of starts. He meets some of the local natives, and then area. Like he meets Russell Crowe there. Crow as his name is, but
yes. But it's with an E, and it sounds like Russell Crowe. Like, it's definitely a take. Well, I mean, I kind of liked how,
and you meet Ken the kangaroo, my favorite character.
Yeah. Well, like I was going to say, I kind of like, and they didn't for them, but I kind of like how they did play on a lot of famous Australian faces and actors. Like you run into Kidman,
yes,
and she sort of, they, I guess. Technically,
and it was really quite cool that it was during the urban section.
Yeah, yeah, they meshed that together nicely.
Yeah,
I didn't catch that. The first time. That was subtle. For sure.
Every time that someone says something about Alice Springs, there's someone in the background that says, "Who the fuck is Alice?"
Yeah,
like.
There was some good stuff. I thought that when they shoved Gibson in, like Gibson, they were trying to go for Gibson.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were doing a satire thing, like he was really racist and whatever. They weren't trying to, make him look good or anything, but it was a stretch. I think they could have just cut that character completely.
The 13 lookalikes all named Hemsworth. That was really quite interesting.
They were all named Chris, funnily enough, as well. Yeah. Like they didn't even sort of try there, but I think the joke landed.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I did like the fact that they didn't just keep it as a like level based 3D platformer. They turned it into a open world 3D platformer. So you kind of ran around and you just, it was massive.
Yeah.
Like once you got out of that canyon the first time, you could head anywhere that you wanted. If you did head too far, like on one side you hit a dingo fence, and then another side you hit
the emu,
a rabbit proof fence. Yeah.
Well, on the other side there's like the emu platoon.
Yeah.
With all their military gear and stuff.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
And then there was just that really nasty razorback that would take you out the second that you went across the line. So,
just spawn in out of nowhere and just take you down. Yeah. Look, I thought that all that was great. They just need to, it wasn't an Ultraviolent Squirrel game, is what I feel like. Like it didn't, without that blood and gore. Like why?
I mean, it was pretty good when
you
you got down near the razorback and he eviscerated you. Like that's where it sort of got its name, but it wasn't the squirrel being violent this time. He was actually kind of tame squirrel.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Anyway, overall it was good.
Yeah, you go again. Like, what's your next one?
Yeah. So my next one, Ice Cream Hot Pursuit.
Yes.
This was cool. Pun intended. Actually, not intended, but it was intended as soon as I said it.
I was really expecting like a Need for Speed style game. I've got to say,
what they did with it
was different, but still cool that it was an ice cream truck.
Yeah, well, that's it. And it had that sort of Crazy Taxi vibe, which I liked.
Where you were literally heading round in pursuit of selling these lovely icy treats.
The iced creamsicles. I don't know, that's my thing. But I liked the mechanics around the melting ice cream, and that you had to like stop off at the cooling stations and
find the powered sites so that you could plug it in and not use so much petrol and I'm really glad that they put a petrol thing into this, so you could just run the whole time with your engine running, and that would keep the generators going. But you were running low on petrol, and
that's it. It's really becomes a resource management sort of thing. Of okay, do I actually turn it off? The ice cream starts to melt, but I'm making money. I can turn it back on, and it'll be okay. But then also,
but of course, if you do that too much, it forms the ice the ice crystals, and therefore no one wants to buy your shit. So
yeah, you sort of had that quality meter as well going on there.
We both bought this. Did you buy the deluxe edition, or was that just me?
Look, it looked like it just came with the soundtrack, and I wasn't really interested.
No, it came with a little like mercury thermometer, because of the whole thermometer mechanic all the way through the game.
Jeez, it's unusual for games these days to come with physical bonuses. That's cool.
It was the deluxe edition.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
And the reason why it was only sold on the black web is because of they don't sell mercury or the dark web, whatever you want to call it. It's because of they're not allowed to sell mercury thermometers anymore. So
it's like literally a toxic chemical. That's cool. It's just a little fun little thing.
It works.
I mean, it works. I'm sure it works, but
yeah, but it's like it's shaped exactly like the one that his grandfather gave him.
Right. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that's cool.
I really love the story they put into this with the this takes place over the week of all over 40 degree days.
Oh yeah, it's like a massive heat wave. Yeah. Well, I liked, and so we haven't mentioned yet, obviously.
And this is set in Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, in Australia. Classic Mr Whippy. It's knockoff. It's not brand, not licensed, but it's obviously they do play Greensleeves, of course. Like it's public domain.
I've got to say,
I did like. I love some
Mr.
of the
Whippe. Like,
yeah, I kept reading his Whippe.
Yeah.
Whippe. On the music though, some of the remixes of Greensleeves that they put in there were fucking awesome. There was some great music. But also what I was going to say is we haven't sort of talked about, like, while you are pursuing the sale of ice creams, there are also the actual pursuit sections where you are being chased, like, by the gangs and stuff.
Yeah.
Who are trying to sort of get in on
rough you up. Yeah.
Yeah, rough you up and take your biz. They want to be selling ice cream there too.
The protection rackets and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. And so that resource management, again, having to, that if you do have melted ice cream, that you can, like, let it go behind to, like, skip them out
oil
and
slicks
use it as tracks and like traps and stuff. Yeah, that was cool. Or if you have, like, melted and frozen too many times, you get those really, like, icy chunks of ice cream that you can just launch at them.
Literally, you've tempered it, so it's never going to melt. Like,
yeah.
Because, in fact, I remember on my last run that I did, I must have got the temperatures just right because I brought it down, brought it back up, brought it down, brought it back up. And of course, that's how you temper chocolate. And this was a chocolate ice cream, and it made a full-on shard that went through a guy. Like, they've put amazing...
That's wild. They've put some really... Yeah, there's some depth to those systems.
Yeah. And then I heard a nice snap, and I'm like, ooh, I really tempered that chocolate really good.
You just... Yeah, like you heard the way
didn't bend.
that it just broke off. Yeah, it sounds appetizing, actually.
Yeah. Makes me want to go back in and play it again.
Yeah. But we won't. What's your next game?
The time travel adventure Scottish Catapult of the Third Reich.
Yeah. All right. This was just a wacky one.
Yeah. So this is where, like, you take control of these 3 catapult operators and their catapult, and they happen to like fall through time and end up in an alternate future where, like, Germany took over the world, and like they're trying to get by and trying to do everything they can to get back in time while not upsetting the rulers of the natural worth. Yeah,
it's but doing so mostly through catapulting things, which
I've got to say,
I was worried.
That scene where you literally catapult, what was it, like the briefcase through time?
Mm-hmm.
Effectively, because you sent that briefcase back in time, that was actually the bomb that failed to kill Hitler, but that turned out to be the main thing reason that would set him on the path to destruction.
Yeah, it's an interesting paradox that you create.
Yeah,
around that, or I guess more like a bit of a bootstrap paradox there of if you hadn't been in this alternate future to send it back, would that alternate future even exist?
Yeah, well, thank God, thank the developers that these people were there, because they really showed how bad, like, if you didn't already know how bad Germany was.
Yeah, if you underestimated the Nazis and how evil they were, no, I agree. Like it was in the midst of a very wacky game where, again, your main verb is pretty much load your catapult, fire your catapult. They managed to show the horrors of a modern fascist dictatorship.
Yeah.
And, very clearly a take on where it seems we're, heading in this modern world in the 21st century.
I thought it was really interesting that the leader of this fascist party was Donald Trump.
Yeah, and he had like he had the Hitler mustache still, but
an orange comb over. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty clear. I did like, though,
when they loaded him into the catapult.
That you eventually get to catapult Drumpf through multiple time periods. And in fact, the power that you give to it, I think, depends on where he ends up through history.
I sent him into a volcano.
Nice. Yep. That's pretty good. I sent him back. I actually sent him back into like medieval times. He landed in another catapult, and then that catapult threw him into the side of a castle. And
that's a pretty good end for him. What I did like is how they wrapped up the end of the game. Like when
with the rap.
Well, yes, the rap and basically, they showed basically the fall of World War II and like the reasons why this should never happen again, and that we should fight against fascism.
Yeah, exactly. I don't suppose you would call any of that rap.
I remember that they were trying to rhyme catapult with what was it?
They did like a slant rhyme with mold or something.
Yeah. I don't remember, which is why I'm cutting this bit out, so fuck you. One more each, and then we'll have our lightning round.
Yeah, okay. My turn, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the other one I played this week was Dead Alias. Which
yes.
Yeah, it was like that spy thriller sort of thing, where you
with zombies,
where you're a zombie. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you've got that great starting scene of a very sort of James Bondish. You're going through the party. You've got your target. You think you're sneaking up on them, and then they just like
turn around and bite you.
Yeah. Well, no, they spin around and shoot you in the head,
and then take a little nibble.
Yeah. Take a little nibble. But that you think, what the fuck? Like, you just left for dead immediately. Like, they think they've killed you. I guess they couldn't resist that little bite. And then you wake up. Your suit is all tattered. You're craving brains. But somehow you've still got your wits about you still. And it becomes sort of a fun little action adventure-y kind of thing as you try to keep from becoming the mindless zombie while still achieving your mission.
Yeah. And I did like how this was more, I don't know, it felt more Hitman-y in the fact that like each level was just a massive like area in which you had different missions that you had to do, and people were sort of going around, but it wasn't about, going through and killing people, although you could. Like, you could have a little nibble here and there and a little snack.
It gave you a lot of options, which I appreciated. And like, the addition of the smell mechanics, it really made certain bits challenging as well. Like, you are a rotting flesh pile, basically, and people will smell you coming if you don't do it the right way. And so the fact that you could, like, pick up covering agents like deodorants and perfumes and things to prevent that, and also you could use your wind sense to sort of really see, am I downwind of them? You have to approach them from the right direction if you want to either take them out or avoid them. I thought that was really cool.
I did like the fact that you could intentionally drop body parts to get the the guards heading off in the wrong direction, and you didn't need that little finger. You could have
and you can always pick them up later and reattach if you go back. Like, if you want to be the completionist, do the completionist run and always end with all your limbs and digits and things, which is cool.
I'm just trying to remember. Like, I don't think I actually finished the game. What happened at the end?
Well, you do eventually, like, take down the big bad, the guy who shot you at the beginning.
Who was just another zombie, and he's the one who actually turned you into a zombie.
He turned you into a zombie, and he's had the scientists working on, the serum to keep you from fully going feral, basically. And so you got that big showdown at the end where, you've got the choice between, you can take him out, but then the serum's going to be gone and you know that you're going to be doomed to become the feral zombie, or you can let him go and take over production of the serum.
Yeah.
I chose to kill him, the sort of sacrificial, hero route, and they do kind of, I guess, fudge it at the end, a bit of Deus Ex Machina, where you end up back in your, like, headquarters, and they've sort of, your Q basically has figured out an alternate serum to keep you going anyway. So you kind of get, you do get the best of both worlds in that case. Which I thought was it's
a bit of a cop out.
But I guess they wanted to make sure they could do a sequel. Whichever ending you took. So, but yeah, I thought it was good. I really liked, even though you used it fairly rarely, like, when you could go into that feral mode almost, like, let it take over you, and if you found yourself with a bunch of guards coming down on you, you could just go, fuck it, and just, like, tear into them.
Yeah. I think the reason why I didn't finish it is because of that whole, like, scene at the cosplay festival that, all of them were basically dressed as, I mean, there was some Garfields there and that sort of stuff. But then there was, like, a whole heap of people dressed as zombies, so you could sort of sneak in there.
Yeah.
But then, like, I could never get through that whole game because I just, or that whole level, because every time I'd sort of lose where I was, take a little bit longer, and then by that time, like, she'd started biting, like, and turning all the zombie people, and I didn't really want to see many more zombie Garfields. Like,
I agree. That was the weaker level for sure. So that's fair enough. But I persevered through that, and no, in the end, I thought it was quite good.
My final one before we go into our rapid fire round was Maze Hospital.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was really quite cool. They, like, effectively, this entire hospital was like a maze, but a 3D maze. Like, you
multi-levels
and having to, like, you go down this corridor and then you're going down 3 flights of stairs and then you go around
just
the
to
corner
get into
and
the next room, basically.
Just to get into the next room.
Floor,
and it's sort of like, you had to get to operating room 1 and you were like running through this, what felt like a, cause it was all first person. It felt really hard to keep track of where you actually were.
Yeah, well, basically it became almost like a speedrunning game, and the way that people would, like, you could, I love that you could, like, call out, ask for directions from people nearby, and they just they'd give you like the next few turns or whatever. Like you wouldn't get it all. But that was like a quite good way of helping you through the maze. Without it just being like, an actual like path on the ground or whatever.
Yeah.
And then all the parkour elements.
I wonder how they actually got that idea. I mean, it kind of feels a bit like Marco Polo that at one stage you could actually call out and find out how close you were to the room.
Yeah, but I think it was just a neat way to sort of do like a guidance, a guidance line, but keep it in game and obviously because you had like the parkour and stuff, you didn't have to follow those directions if you saw a shortcut like downstairs, down the stairwells and stuff.
There was one that it was like, I was sure that it was on a different level. It was like, no, I could have just literally gone through that curtain. I would have been there. Like,
right. Yeah. But you call out to the nurse and they're like, third door on the left and then take a right after the toilet. And then you just run off in that direction. Yeah.
Only to find out that eventually that it was literally the next bed to where I started off with.
It's Maze Hospital.
Okay. Pick two of your favorites and give an idea.
Two of the favorite other games that we played this week.
Yep.
And we're just going to do like a 1 minute,
even quicker, just to knock it out.
Yeah. Well, I liked Omega Dodgeball Soldier. Just a really cool, almost. I'm not being fast enough, but it's like a violent sport sim sort of thing. It was really cool.
I thought Legend of the Hoedown was amazing. Like, it was great to see, line dancing and that sort of music in like this massive world spanning adventure. Like it was sort of like giving you the idea of how the Hoedown came to be and, fusing all these different styles together. It was just a real fun game.
My First Railroad Dungeon, I thought was a really cool mashup of sort of automation gameplay with roguelike stuff. Creating your train signals and train tracks going through the dungeon, but that's, but having that built into then your roguelike runs was really, really quite cool.
And last game, I have to give a shout out to Hideous Equestrian Academy. And it's not, it's not what you think. The horses aren't hideous. The riders are.
Yes.
But
I love that you play as the horses.
Yes.
And they're just constantly kind of talking shit about their jockeys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it was a great thing to see, the jockeys sort of just, they didn't really learn anything, whereas the horses went to class. It was kind of it was
a good little subversion of the roles.
Yeah, what you were expecting. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Well, that was fun. Move away from our usual improvised game ideas.
Oh, we didn't have to think of anything this week. Like, it was so good. We could just talk about stuff that already exists.
Talk about stuff we played. It's always nice. Look, if you want to check out our Steam Curator page, then all of these games are up there. Just search for it. I'm sure you'll find it. And
search the black web.
Go search the black web.
It's darker than the dark web.
And if you want to find us and the rest of our episodes, go to podchaser.com/bitstorm, shoot us a review, check out all our socials, all our previous episodes. As I said, it's all there.
If you like the song that we play at the start and end of each episode, that song is called Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure. The whole song actually goes for like 10 minutes or so. So
it's a long song.
And doesn't feature Ben, so it's great.
It's the best one on the album. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And I'm Ultraviolent Squirrel. Dodge this.